Hello VC, Big Star 1000, and as you can see by the title, this is a return of the Gimme Ten series, which I've been doing plenty of in the past. You can look, there's a playlist, and if you're a new subscriber, there's tons of videos. Gimme Ten simply is a concept whereby I just show 10 records of a given style, genre, and for this it will be years. So hereby I undertake the monumental task of working at what are the best records from the 1970s, which arguably is the most musically interesting decade of all. And you might disagree with this, that's okay, everybody's got their own opinions. This is my opinion. A decade which saw so many styles of music evolve, from rock to prog to experimental music to krautrock, disco, electronic music. A really vast array of music came out. Some great artists made the best records in the 70s, and the music that we hear today is, well, largely inspired by that. Why am I doing this for the 1970s? Because I like to revisit my collection, because it's fun to go back into certain records and just maybe focus on a year. So I got to listen to those records and think about them. Also because I'd like some community involvement. I'd like some responses. If you are thinking about it, if you're watching this video and you go, well, I really want to respond, then you do it, and that'll generate a lot of interest from your own viewers, and from me, obviously, because I'll be interested to see what you have to say. I'm doing it for myself because I just, it's the kind of person I am. So community involvement is what I'm looking for as well. So each week from now on, I will post a year from 70 to 79, and what I will try to do is I'm going to try to rank the records each week as I post them. So in the description box, you'll be able to see every week I will add the records that I put from each year. See if I can get to a top 100. You never know. And lastly, what I want to say before I continue. Now, obviously, I'm making a big fuss at the beginning of this video, but I'm not going to go into the sort of details in the further Gimme Tens. But obviously, I will show records that I think are Gimme Ten material. Now, your list may differ completely to mine, and I've omitted some huge things. I mean, I'm researching for this 1970 installment. So much stuff that I could have included, I didn't put in. So don't you think that I've forgotten about it? I just simply couldn't put it in. For instance, two great Black Sabbath records came out in 1970. I didn't include them. Two great Tim Buckley records came out in 1970. I didn't include them. There's just too many things to choose from. Neil Young, Van Morrison with Moon Dance, and things like that, which I could not, So it's not forgetting. It's just not having the space to do so. I look forward to seeing your lists and what you have to say, what you have to respond. Okay, so I'm going to get started. 1970, a huge year for music. Right, 1970. Let's get into it. And I will start with a classic piece. Everybody knows this record. And if you don't know this record, then you need to go and get it. I'm talking about Brew by Miles Davis. Arguably one of the very, very best records to come out of the 70s, let alone 1970. from its mystical classic cover art by German artist Matti Klauen to its cast of players involving, it's a who's who of electric jazz in the 70s. Obviously, Miles Davis is the band leader, but without the help of people like Wayne Shorter, Lenny White, Benny Maupin, Chick Corea, Jack DeJohnette, Dave Holland, John McLaughlin, Joe Zawinul, Larry Young. I mean, when I say who's who, I mean who's who. Double album, every song is just, I mean, they're not songs, they're tracks, you know, they're almost like electric jazz symphonies of their own. Reading about Bitches Brew about 2 or 3 years ago, I got this book about Bitches Brew, which is really, really very, very interesting. It's in French, but it's otherwise I would recommend that you read it. But I was mesmerized by the fact that, you know, how the sessions went, and sometimes you had 3 people on keyboard at the same time, and 2 drummers playing, you know, Jack DeJohnette and who's the other drummer, Lenny White, playing at the same time, like doubling the drums. It just blows my mind how they came up with this, which is basically the template for everything that followed. So that's my first choice for this Gimme Ten, and I will segue this with what I like to call this is a personal thing. You know, don't judge me. I'm just a music fan. To me, the UK answer to Bitches Brew is Soft Machine 3rd. They're almost like cousin records, you know, brother or sister records. Obviously, there's not a cast of thousands on Soft Machine 3rd. There's 4 people, but 4 extremely talented gents. And this, obviously, this is famous. It's got 4 tracks, and each track is a member of Soft Machine composing and leading. Moon in June, which was the only vocal track with Robert White. It was to be his 2nd last appearance on in the Soft Machine roster. 4th is the 4th album is where he left the band, or was kicked out of the band rather. Again, this is classic album sleeve, and absolutely fantastic. I mean, you know, you would call this a progressive rock album, but it is so close to jazz that, you know, these 2 records have more in common than, say, this with say a Pink Floyd record or something. It is a stunning record. This is an Italian pressing of the record. Again, my vocabulary pays no justice to those 2 records. I think you need to experience them for yourself if you haven't yet. They are crucial pieces in the 1970 or even the all-time musical jigsaw. I'm going to continue with a segue of sorts, another Canterbury band, and an equally classic record. Spoken about this record a couple of videos ago. Caravan's 2nd album. If I could do it all over again, I would do it all over you. Which does look like this if you have the proper UK edition. They're in the forest, a beautiful sleeve, but I keep both of them. I love this album so much. This album is prog with touches of mean jazz rock, but prog done absolutely to perfection. The centerpiece is track 3, Can't Be Long Now, Françoise for Richard Warlock. A suite of songs, of instrumental songs, just a beautiful organ-led, you know, fairly sort of ethereal. You know, it's really mysterious music. It's you don't know how they came up with this. And the vocals, Richard Sinclair, the vocals are just done to perfection. To me, this is the essence of good progressive music. There's no wankiness about this. Sorry if you are a big prog fan, but honestly, sometimes you listen to prog, you just think they're just like they're enjoying themselves far more than their audience. You just get the sense. But these guys are doing it beautifully. Caravan. If you don't have this album, don't hesitate. Highest possible recommendation. And so 1970, I'm going to continue with record number 4 in this list. 1970 was also the year that the Beatles broke up, and in that year, in my opinion, the two best solo Beatles record came out in 1970. One was Plastic Ono Band, John Lennon with, I mean, I absolutely love that record, and I could have included it here quite easily. But the one that shows really was George Harrison's All Things Must Pass, which is a sensational melodic set of songs that never disappoints. I mean, obviously side 5 and side 6 you should just ignore, because it's, I mean, they were just overindulgent. Even side 6 sounds like some, 70s porno soundtrack music. It's like, waka waka sort of nonsense. But the songs like, Wawa Isn't the Pity, What Is Life, Apple's Crafts, The Art of Dying, All Things Must Pass, Star Trek. Art of Dying is a personal favorite. I just connect with that song so much. Let It Roll, I Dig Love. I mean, it's just a classic from back to front. It's an amazing album, and you wonder how he didn't use these songs whilst in the Beatles. Probably he had the game plan. He probably thought, well, I see this is going to shit. I better save my good songs for other things. In the early 2000s, I was obsessed with this record. I had this on CD, and it was a time where you couldn't buy it for love of money. There were no copies anywhere, and I found it in a local store in Melbourne in about 2003 or 4, in a bin under the counter, and it was one of the most glorious crate digging moments of my. I mean, even though it's a common record, now you can see it everywhere, but back then it was really difficult to find. Continuing, I'm going to continue with some more classics. Alright, now here's a record that everybody knows, or I hope everybody knows. What to say about the almighty Bryter Layter by Mr. Nick Drake. Again, classic sleeve. This is quite simply one of the best folk music albums ever made, and the great thing with Nick Drake is he bends folk music in such directions that it really isn't folk music anymore, but you can't sort of classify it in any other sort of genre, because that's what it is. I've got deep connections with this record. I played it to death. I played. In very late 90s, early 2000s, I used to have this in my Walkman all the time. It's just an amazing record, and my personal connection. I think Northern Sky, I think is his best song. It's a beautiful song, but also like things like At the Chime of a City Clock, or One of These Things First, and Hazy Jade, even Poor Boy with its choir. It's just like it's Bryter Layter. What can you say? I mean, I'm not really. I really can't say anything groundbreaking about this. You know it. You don't know it. Really, if you don't know this album, you must do something. It's essential. Okay. Let's not segue. Let's go in a completely different direction. Now, being French, obviously, you'll probably always see in this series of 1970s, there's a chance that you'll see some French records in each one of my videos. And my token French record today is the very impressive debut by the most far-out French progressive band, arguably, the Force, that is Magma, a band led by Christian Vander, a mix of, again, prog rock, neoclassical, modern classical influences, notably Stravinsky and Karl Orff, and a fascination, obsession to the music of John Coltrane. This is a beautiful original press as well. I just feel like showing you because it's a nice package. Magma and the myth that was created by Christian Vander. Now Magma, again, I was talking about a cast of thousands, but arguably you could say that every great jazz fusion or prog musician from France has played at some point in time in Magma. And this first album, it's got Christian Vander on drums and vocals. François Cahen, who would later make records with Zao, is on there, and you've got Laurent Thibault, who is a legendary French musician too, and Klaus Vasquez on vocals. What is Magma? What does Magma do? What does Magma not do is a question. I think this could be one of the most influential records ever, really, in terms of what it sparked in people's minds, and how they created this language, this planet Kobaia, and this genre of music, Zeul, as I would say in French, and this invented language. It's a bit like Tolkien and Elvish, and I'm going to segue Tolkien and Elvish right now with this record. Yes, a bit strange. In 1970, you could choose so many things, like the first Black Sabbath record or something, or Moondance, or Curtis Mayfield, Curtis. And what does Fred choose? Lord of the Rings, Bo Hansson. Here is a record you can pick up here in Australia anyway. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but here you can buy this record for nothing. It is just almost given away. And yet, it is so inspired and so completely enthralling that, it's a shame that people pass it by. So Bo Hansson is a Swedish musician, he's a keyboard player, and it's... obviously it's a suite of songs inspired by Lord of the Rings, and it's ethereal, it's magical, it takes you to other places. You can put it on a turntable, and it just sort of seeps into your unconscious. It really is one of those records that is timeless. It's complete timeless, and that's why I'm including this list. I love this record, and maybe you do as well. Leave me a comment. Alright, here is my favorite Brazilian record ever. I mean, it's a big statement, but it's true. Forca Bruta by George Ben. George Ben is guitar player, songwriter. He's basically Brazil's Paul McCartney, you would say. I mean, just about. He's written songs that are enduring. Mashkenada, for example, is a George Ben composition. This is an absolutely amazing record from back to front. I remember discovering this, probably 7-8 years ago. I was on a road trip with my wife, and we stopped in a sort of thrift store type of place, and they had this on CD for like $2-3, and we were driving, and so I knew of this. I knew of it. I knew of George Ben, obviously, and I knew of the album, and I immediately picked up the album and I put it in the car CD player. That's the first time I heard it, and it just changed the drive completely. It's just, the songs are engaging. They are just so well crafted. If you don't speak Portuguese, I don't speak Portuguese, doesn't matter. You just, it completely, um, it, it's so charming and so effortless, and the vocal harmonies are brilliant. The guitar playing is top notch. Everything about this record is heck, I would class this as one of my top 20 favorite records ever, without hesitation. So if you don't have this, and the opener, Oba La Vermelha, that song Domenica, very, very good song. The title track, which is the last song. I mean, everything. A jazz record, to second last. One more after this. This is a fairly recent addition to my record collection, probably a couple of years, maybe a year and a half, tops. The Awakening by the Ahmad Jamal trio. You know, just a spellbinding record. No two way about it. It's a trio. The piano is it's playing is so inspired. And the trio works so well together. Trio is there. Ahmad Jamal on piano, and Jamal and Frank Gant, which, man, they're not exactly household names, those two guys. It's been sampled a lot as well. It's on Nas, on the first Nas record. You can hear. I think, what song was it that they? Yes, Life's a Bitch and Then You Die, isn't it? It's got this on it. Remarkable record, remarkable. And still quite expensive these days to buy, but I think one of the best jazz records ever. It's what kind of jazz would you call this? It's kind of like a spiritual jazz album, but sort of more like a post-bop. It's got more like a post-bop feel. Last record on this list, and I always put some oddball records, and this record I love, absolutely love to bits. And I blew off Lorca by Tim Buckley, which I so worship, to put this on. So that's how much I love this record. Story short, cut the story short if you can stay with me, if I haven't bored you yet. A few years ago, early days of the VC, very early days of VC. I've been in VC for 6 years, so it was about 5 years ago, I'd say. I ordered a record from Light in the Attic Records, and it was a Gabo Zabo record, and I received the package, and it was the wrong record. But the record that was inside was so intriguing, so it was sealed and stuff, and I just couldn't resist. I cracked it open, put it on the turntable, and it just changed I wouldn't say it changed my life, but I loved it instantly, and I just raved about it at the time. And the record in question is UFO by Jim Sullivan. This record is a masterpiece. 2010 Light in the Attic, so that would be 2016. That's what I'm saying. That was about that time. Jim Sullivan is a musician from, I think he was from the West Coast, from Los Angeles, and he managed to get some kind of he had some connections, obviously, in Hollywood and all, and he managed to get the Wrecking Crew, which is the Phil Spector backing band, etc., to play. So what you've got is baroque, folk music, lots of strings. His voice is amazing. The songs are reflective. They're instantly engaging. From the opener Jerome to Rosie, Highways, and the title track UFO is a masterpiece. I mean, this record, Jim Sullivan, UFO, if you've never heard of it, any hesitation. Now this guy, I've after he made this record, he drove into the desert and he was never seen again. He disappeared, face of the earth completely. Nobody knows what happened to him. It says originally released in 1969, but really everywhere you look, it says 70. So I'll take it as a 70s record. And if it's 69, then Lorca takes its place. We'll just say for the video. But in any case, that's it. Okay, VC. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you respond. Please respond. It's fun.